we have a new game, right? What we are going to do is, you ready? You ready to rock and roll?
I sure am.
All right, listen, we're going to put our GM hats on, right? I might put on a blazer and a nice shirt. You can wear, your outfit you got on now. And we're going to roll through these head coaches, right? And we're going to play a game of keep them or let them go, right? And we're going to roll through 8 names here that are all coaches that are on the hot seat and decide if we would keep those head coaches or let them go. Let's start with Atlanta Falcons head coach Raheem Morris. Keep him or let him go?
I would keep Raheem Morris personally. I think this team showed a lot of fight, obviously coming off of a Monday Night Football game against the Rams. You still have a lot of talent here. You've had a lot of turnover. I think I trust that he can get this right. They played really hard. This team played very inspired. They've just had some weird chemistry things go on in that team, but I really like Raheem. I think he's a good coach. I think he has good culture, and I think just give him some time, because the reality is this Kirk Cousins, Michael Penix thing was more the GM than the head coach, and I think they got to get that figured out as they move forward, and I would like to see Raheem keep his job.
Yeah, I say keep him. He fits the Atlanta culture, right? I think he's a player coach. He's a coach that the players like a lot. And listen, his stint, Raheem Morris' stint, will be defined by who's been the quarterback, right? And I think it's unfortunate because he hasn't had the opportunity to fully develop Michael Penix. But then also, like you said, he didn't create the Michael Penix versus Kirk Cousins dilemma. If you look at the rest of this football team, they fight. They're talented. Players are getting developed. You have a Billy Bowman, a James Pierce, a Jalen Walker. You have some talent on both sides of the football. And I think that they just need to get the quarterback position figured out and make a decision, right? Are they a team that potentially goes after Malik Willis or, a Mac Jones or something like that, or do they draft a quarterback? But they need to figure something out with the quarterback position. I would hate for him to be defined by a Michael Penix injury and then Kirk Cousins injured and just kind of derailing this situation. Let's go up next. We're going to the Valley. We're going to your hometown. Jonathan Gannon. Keep him or let him go?
Yeah, you got to let Jonathan Gannon go.
Yeah.
The Cardinals have been one of the worst teams in the NFL during his tenure.
Yep.
This year, they have been god-awful. The decision, whether you like it or not, the situation and the handling of the Kyler Murray, Jacoby Brissett situation was bad, very bad. Just outward, the way he handled the media. You think about the pushing of the player that happened early at the midway point of the season. He has this, and I want to take the fans behind the scenes. So I know this organization really well. I'm here in Arizona. I was watched and saw what happened when it was Cliff Kingsbury. Okay. And the way I would describe the Cliff Kingsbury time was the no rules version. Okay. So they went from the no rules version to the too many rules version. They went to two extremes. And that's your problem, is when you swing back and forth like that, it makes it very hard on your roster because you've got tendencies and you're trying to have culture this way. And then you flip to trying to set a tone in a totally different direction with a coaching staff that has no commitment to Kyler Murray. Whether it's how he handles himself, the things that have happened on the sideline, time management, clock management, player management, I just don't have any faith in Jonathan Gannon, and I can't imagine the Cardinals do either.
Yeah, I think he lost the locker room. Whenever you have former players and players who've been very important to a franchise come out and say, I would have responded totally different if the head coach touched me. A guy has lost the locker room, and you can barely do that when you're winning. When you're a losing head coach and you're up there violating players in that manner, right, and disrespecting players, it's time to go. To be completely honest, I'd have let Jonathan Gannon go as soon as that situation happened. There's not enough to explain to why keeping him as a head coach. He didn't win enough to go on the sideline, violate players, and do what he did. So I would have let him go.
It's also not college football. These are not young. These are grown men. This is a professional league. To watch I think of that Brian Kelly situation where he was yelling at that player on the sideline. And even that was too far for me. But it's more understandable when you're talking about dealing with younger guys, dealing with still teenagers, 18, 19, 20-year-olds who are trying to figure themselves out, who need to have more guardrails for discipline. These are grown-ass men. To watch that happen in the NFL was very bizarre. And I don't think it got enough coverage because the Arizona Cardinals are one of those, yes, Phoenix is a top 10 populous market, but it's all transplants. So the coverage of the team doesn't happen at the same level. I can only imagine what would have happened if Sirianni did that or Ben Johnson did that, what the media would have said if you saw that happen. It just wasn't a good look. And he hasn't won, period. 3 years, plenty of time to show you know what you're doing. He hasn't been able to do it. It's time to move on.
Yep, let's do this. Let's go to New York. Let's do Aaron Glenn. You keep him or let them go?
I want to keep my guy Aaron Glenn. I do, and I'm going to tell you why. This organization has continued to just recycle, retread, go in a different, and at some point they need to stop doing that, and they need to commit to somebody. They need to allow somebody to build a culture. And Aaron Glenn is somebody who understands this organization, who played for the Jets, who can deal with Woody Johnson. And I understand that it wasn't good this year. The reality is the answer is not Justin Fields. That's clear. This is not who's going to be the starting quarterback moving forward, and he's probably not going to be a starting quarterback anywhere moving forward. Do I want him to keep that job? Yes. Will he? Who knows? This ownership team is just all-time stupid. So I would like to see Aaron Glenn at least get a second year to try to turn things in the right direction, but we will see. Time will tell if Woody Johnson decides to let his guy go.
Yeah, I mean, this is a debate between what I want and what I think, right? What I want is for Aaron Glenn to get a fair shot at being the head coach of the New York Jets. What I think is going to happen, I think they're going to let him go. Then let him go at the end of the day, and it's because it's what they've always planned to do. And I'll save my conspiracy theories for another episode, but this didn't align from the very beginning. I don't think he truly got the shot that he deserved. Talking about Aaron Glenn to truly run this franchise, to get an opportunity to build, right, and do certain things. I think it was a let them go situation when they decided to sell off Sauce Gardner and Quentin Williams. That was just the two faces of your organizations, and y'all were the trade deadline people, right? Like that, to me, that didn't make any sense, and it just aligned with what I've always said. They've always planned to blow this thing up, get as high a pick as they can, draft the quarterback, and hire Rex Ryan as the head coach into 2026. So I'm gonna leave the rest of it for that, but I think they let them go.
We call it the hired to be fired coaches, and they're guys that are brought in to kind of bridge the gap between the 1 year when this isn't, you got to be in a transitional phase, right? Gerard Mayo, right? Last year with the New England Patriots, he was hired to be fired. He was a guy who's brought, like, this happens in the NFL. I hope Aaron Glenn gets another opportunity. I don't think that he will.
Yep. All right. Let's stay in the AFC East. Let's do the Miami Dolphins. Mike McDaniel, keeping them or letting them go?
I would let him go. I haven't been a Mike McDaniel fan from off rip. But this situation, he was brought in for one reason alone, to get the best out of Tua Tagovailoa. He currently benched Tua. That means he failed. Period. End of story. That is his special. That was his sole purpose. Was Brian Flores was fired because he was too hard on Tua, and Tua needed to be maximized. Guess what? It failed, and it is time to move on. It's time to find a new identity. This version of the Miami Dolphins, you already saw the best version. It peaked. You've already seen it. It's no longer going to be that version. Quinn Ewers is a talented guy. Whether or not he can be the guy moving forward, that's to be determined. But I don't think that it should be Mike McDaniel, because I don't think Mike McDaniel's had a hold of this locker room for quite some time. And he sure as hell doesn't have a hold of the locker room right now.
Yeah, if I'm playing the GM, I'm keeping them. And I'm keeping them for the sole reason of I don't think I have any other options. I mean, you already fired the general manager, right? Tua Tagovailoa is bench. Tyreek Hill may be back next year, halfway through the year, towards the end of the year. So when I go looking for a head coach, who the hell else? I don't know if people want this job, right? And I know it's the 1 of 32 situation, right? But going back to the Aaron Glenn conversation that we had, that every job isn't a great situation. And I think the cream of the crop guys, right? Like the top coordinators aren't going to want this situation because it's purely dysfunctional. Go ahead. What you got?
You know what? I got a fun name to throw in here that he has floated his name, a college guy who's floated his name throughout this year, and then pretended that he didn't float his name, but he did. Steve Sarkisian, a guy who coached Quinn Ewers, a guy who definitely wants to be in the NFL. And I do not think he's really enjoying the pressure that comes along with being the head coach of Arch Manning. I think that could be a situation that could happen.
I could see that. You know, if it was going to get a college guy and it's somebody with the confidence and bravado of a Steve Sarkisian, a guy who's already coached in the NFL, I could see that. I could see that one. And maybe that you decide to move on from that perspective, because I was thinking from the perspective of finding another guy who's an offensive guru who can develop quarterbacks, right? And then put together this system that works for a team that's not that damn good, right? Like they're not that good and they're dysfunctional. So yeah, I just found it tough. But if it was a Steve Sarkisian type of guy, I can definitely see
I
that
can see the wheels spinning. You're liking my idea over
happen.
there.
Let's do this. Let's go to Cleveland. Let's do Kevin Stefanski. You keeping him or letting him go?
Oh, you got to let him go. I just, Stefanski's been a great coach for the Cleveland Browns, but whatever happened, the decision, if you're going to keep Shedeur Sanders, you got to move on because it's
Why you
very
say that?
clear. Yeah, it's very clear that whoever decided, and I'm looking at Jimmy Haslam, that he wanted to draft Shedeur, that was not the same page that everybody else was on. And quite frankly, you've got so many quarterbacks that have been on that roster, and the way that this has happened throughout this year, I don't think that even though Shedeur has done an excellent job coming to the podium, having his coaches back, I don't think his coach has done the same thing on the flip side. So I do think that Cleveland should give Shedeur a shot long term. And if that's the case, I think you got to move on from Stefanski.
Yeah, I think you move on because I think what they're trying to do and what the ownership potentially is what they're trying to do as far as if you want Shedeur Sanders in there, you want some type of bravado and confidence. And I think Shedeur has done an excellent job of how he's handled the press conferences, right? Like you said, having his coaches back, but also promoting team, but also promoting confidence, right? Like I don't want to be a loser, right? Like we shouldn't be losing. And to me, when I watch Stefanski, to be completely honest, he tired of being in Cleveland. I think he's just tired, right? It's like I need a new scenery. I'll take an OC job in Miami or something like that. But I'm tired of this situation, and I don't think the energy of what Shedeur wants to bring matches with Kevin Stefanski where he's at right now in his career and or in the timeline with the Cleveland Browns because I think he's tired. I think things are weighing on him, and that's above his head as far as the general manager and the ownership and stuff like that. That he's probably, and we hear this all the time when coaches say like, "Man, I just want to coach ball." Right, like I got here to do the X's and O's, and it looks like Stefanski. That's the direction he wants to go in.
And that's never going to be the case with the Shedeur show. It's
Yeah.
just not. So
Yep.
you gotta have a head coach that's going to be able to handle the media chaos that comes along with the Sanders family. So I just don't think personality wise that's ever been Stefanski. He's kind of a more quiet, reserved
Yep.
guy. I think you need somebody who's going to be able to unlock that confidence and bordering on arrogance part of Shedeur and also mirror that himself. So it's too bad Bruce Arians is retired because man, oh man, that would be a fun combination.
All right, let's do this. Let's stay in the AFC North. John Harbaugh, the Baltimore Ravens, keeping them or letting them go?
I can't even believe we're having this damn conversation, but
Right.
he is in the top 8 of most likely to get fired. I'm keeping him. I don't even think this should even be a thought that happens. I understand that this season has been a disappointment, but his quarterback has been injured almost the entirety of this year. I know that there's been some weirdness with the press conferences and what's been reported and what's not, but the reality is what we actually know is that this Ravens team, with all the things that have gone on this year, have an opportunity to win this division this upcoming weekend. And for that reason, and that reason alone, John Harbaugh's resume speaks for itself. He's a guy who, as somebody who already won a Super Bowl, then turned around and was willing to change everything that he did with the guy that he had in Joe Flacco to turn and have an offense that looks completely differently than what they used to run when they were running that with Joe Flacco. Now they've got a team and an organization that completely revolves around Lamar. And he and Lamar have never had a bad relationship. This Baltimore Sun article and all the shenanigans, they need to block out the noise. They need to go win this game in Pittsburgh, try and win a game in the postseason and get ready for next season. I can't imagine them moving on from Harbaugh.
Yeah, I think it's ridiculous too that we even having this conversation. Super Bowl winner, proven guy, proven winner, culture establisher, handles everything the right way. The players love him. It makes no sense to even have this conversation from that perspective. I understand them not meeting expectations, but the people keep forgetting this part. Lamar Jackson is hurt. He doesn't have a quarterback. Like how many coaches would have average seasons if their star quarterback got hurt, right? And I think people are trying to overcomplicate this situation. It's just simply my star quarterback is injured, so we're not going to be as good as we once were if we had him, right? So I think that's where the expectation has to lie.
I have a question for you. Is Andy Reid on the hot seat?
Thank you. That's my point. Yep. So
that's the point. The point is you can't have a year where your quarterback has had injuries and the Chiefs are out of it. And the Chiefs were out of it when Mahomes was playing football before he got injured. So this is a situation where Lamar has been injured. They've been able to win games with a backup quarterback. They're still in it to make the postseason. They could make a run. We have no idea how this is going to play out. I would love if the Baltimore Ravens go on a run and win a damn Super Bowl. How funny would everybody in that Baltimore Sun reporter should have to walk and have the word shame yelled at him in the city of Baltimore if that happens. I'm calling it out now. Baltimore Ravens win the Super Bowl. Homeboy that works for the Sun, you're walking the streets of Baltimore, and everybody in Baltimore gets to yell shame at you, mile after mile after mile.
All right, let's do this. From one Super Bowl head coach to another one, Pete Carroll, the Las Vegas Raiders. You keeping him or letting him go?
Keeping him. We talked about it a little bit earlier in the show. Just when you talk about the direction of this organization, what they're planning to do, what they're going to have in, I assume that they're going to lose to the Chiefs. They're going to have the number 1 overall pick, and he's going to be the person to help steward a new young quarterback as they move this organization forward. The reality is he inherited a disaster. This organization's had 5 to 7 years of total dysfunction, bad organization, bad coaching, bad general manager, John Gruden, all the things that have happened off the field. And Pete Carroll is the right guy to turn this around. So I can't imagine that they move away from him, and I certainly would not.
Yeah, I'd say keep him too for all the same reasons, right? And this is a guy, we talked about it on yesterday's episode, proven track record of building up a franchise. Like, who were the Seattle Seahawks before Pete Carroll got there, right? Like, they were not a force in the NFC before Pete Carroll. Like, he's a guy that established everything and made them Super Bowl contenders and made them a fun franchise that free agents even wanted to come to. Now, you put this guy in Las Vegas, you give him a young quarterback. I think they have over $100 million in salary cap plus some top draft picks. I trust in what Pete Carroll can do. Let's wrap this up with, I think this guy's a Cornhusker, right? A former Cornhusker, Zack Taylor with the Cincinnati Bengals. Keeping him or letting him go?
Ooh, a former Big 12 quarterback of the year, Zach. Hey, some respect on my boy's name. With all that being said, I would be letting Zach go. I think the time has run out. This decision, I think will not happen because Cincinnati is an organization that's very cheap. They're an organization that holds on to their coach, i.e. Marvin Lewis, for a very long time after lackluster performances. But I think when you talk about this team and this organization and just who can help steward this as they move forward, they need somebody who's not as passive as Zach is.
Yeah.
And I know Zach. He's a great guy. I think he's done an excellent job in offensively coaching this team. But you have to regain the trust of your quarterback and you have to steward him forward. And Zach is not the right guy for that. And quite frankly, he's never been the right guy for that. So since that Super Bowl loss, it's been a downward tread. And it's time for this team to go in a different direction. They probably won't because this Brown family is very cheap. So I think they should, but we'll see. Only time will tell.
Yep, I'm going to say let him go. And it's as simple as this. What the Cincinnati Bengals have done, I think it's become stale. And to me, in my opinion, Zack Taylor, he's not a guy that's going to ruffle feathers. They need somebody that's going to come in there and flip some tables over, right? That's going to bring a different type of energy. The same energy we just talked about the Cleveland Browns, to where it's like, you know what? We're not doing this losing stuff anymore. We're not settling for mediocrity. Almost, you know what? A guy like a Dan Campbell, right? And how he was able to revitalize the Detroit Lions. I think they need a statement maker like that in Cincinnati. And I think it's a very attractive job just because you got Joe Burrow, Jamal Chase, and T. Higgins, right? Like, people are going to line up for that because when they're healthy, your baseline is 8 wins. Now you just need somebody that's going to bring a totally different mentality that's going to be able to push you to 12, 13, 14 wins.
You need some toughness. This team needs, this is a soft team right now. Yeah. It's a soft organization. And this team plays in the AFC North. They need some toughness. They need defensively to show up and be able to be that type of aggressive defense that they had 15, 20 years ago when they were the best and playing high level. And I know that this organization gets a lot of things thrown around, but they are definitely loyal to a fault. And that is not really a good thing. So I will, depending on how much pressure Joe Burrow puts on this organization outwardly, which it seems like he will, we just don't know where he sits with Zack Taylor because he's not really spoken on that in the past. So we will see. Time will tell. But I think they need to stop being powder puff football and be some tough football.